Two middle-aged men in Cleveland, the very famous Ted Klopp, Ken Dworsnik, episode 114. Ted, let's get right into it. I do have some jersey numbers for you now. Here we go.
14. Otto
14
Graham.
for the Browns.
Otto Graham.
Here's the big question. Can you name any other 14s?
Bobby Fields.
No, for the Browns.
Oh, for the Browns. Frank Ryan.
Correct.
Okay. 14.
I struggle with this. I don't know if there's any others.
Did Todd Blackledge ever play for the Browns?
No. Very famous Penn State quarterback. Great announcer, by the way.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, you kicked into the Cavs. Bobby Fields. Can you name any others for the Cavs?
For the Cavs. Who else has worn 14? Why do I think?
Two of the players are still playing. One played on the roster this year. One previously played on the roster and is still playing basketball for the Lakers. And the third is out of basketball and not doing great.
I don't know.
You got Ricky Rubio from this past year.
Okay. Yep.
People forget about him because I think he pretended to play basketball in the playoffs. Tristan Thompson.
Okay.
Got himself a max contract playing for the Cavs. And then a very sad situation with this gentleman, Delonte West.
Oh,
who's just got some mental issues and is homeless, and it's awful.
Yeah.
So, just awful. For your Cleveland Indians, you should be able to name one of these guys.
14. Gosh.
Here's the hint. This guy played for us multiple times.
Was he a infield, outfield?
He played infield, and then at the end of his career, the old famous designated hitter.
Oh, the designated hitter.
Great name. You love this name. Great announcer name. Here's the last hint.
Yeah.
One of the greatest batting stances you've ever seen.
Go ahead. I'm
your guy, Julio Franco.
Oh my gosh. How could I forget?
Julio Franco, Chris Chambliss, always a fan favorite.
Julio.
And then one of my favorite players, because one time when I was a child, I just thought it was super exciting because I went to Hills. Remember Hills, the department store?
Oh, yeah.
They had one at Parmatown Mall. I rode my wonderful bike there and waited in line to get the autograph of Jerry Brown. So exciting. Jerry Brown, also number 14.
Jerry Brown, a little trivia. Jerry Brown played center field when Paul Sorrento hit a home run at the old stadium when I was in the Fancast booth.
That is absolutely classic.
Way back at the wall. Brown watches it go. It's a home run. Oh, yeah.
It's classic.
Oh, yeah.
And do you know, this past week, and we do this with our friend Dusty Sloan, who will be joining us on this podcast to talk about some sports history. It is also the 42nd anniversary of Len Barker's perfect game.
Oh, my.
That?
Large Lenny Barker.
So, obviously, I got, this happens to you too, drawn into some kind of Facebook, YouTube thing or whatever. And so, do you know the announcers from that game, by the way? The TV announcers.
Yeah,
who was it?
Two of the greatest.
That's
Joe
correct.
Tate and Bruce Drennan.
Absolutely.
Who else would you have called that?
Do you know who did the radio broadcast?
Was it Paul Olden?
Great guess.
It was definitely Herb Score, right?
Herb Score. Do you know who his partner was? This is unbelievable.
It wasn't Paul Olden. It wasn't Tom Hamilton. He wasn't around then.
Nope. This guy was a newscaster and also called Nev Chandler. How about that? That's classic.
Nobody remembers that Nev did baseball before he did football because the baseball was so god awful.
No. And here's some other tidbits on this. Do you know that there was a player that played in that game that also played a career in the NBA?
Say that again?
So there's a player that played in that game, played for the opposing team, that also had a 14-year NBA career.
Goodness gracious, I have no idea.
Danny Ainge. Remember Danny Ainge?
Oh my gosh, that's right.
I didn't know this. He played in that game. He was 0 for 2. Obviously, he was 0 for because it was a perfect game, but it was 0 for 2. So, and then the other tidbit that I forgot about. So Len Barker loved him, outstanding. At one point in time, the Indians decided to trade him. I think it was like 2 years later. They traded him. They ended up getting from the Atlanta Braves Brett Butler and Brooke Jacoby.
That's pretty good trade.
That was a pretty good trade. Yeah. Pretty good.
I don't know what Len Barker's all-time career stats are, but I know Len Barker and Brooke Jacoby were pretty good players.
He was. And then when he got traded, he had a 5-year deal, which was unheard of at that time for baseball. So, and unfortunately he was injured. He had elbow issues, and I think he obviously got paid, but he didn't finish his 5-year contract. So there you go. We're just talking some Cleveland sports here off the top, and that's what we do here. We're not going to talk about current teams. We're not going to talk about. Oh
God, no.
We're not going to do that.
Wait a minute. Let's talk about good things happening currently in Cleveland sports. Okay.
There's a lot of silence.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of interesting things coming up on this show. Joe Biden, he made our Misspeak of the week. I know that's a surprise. Why? Well, you'll hear it. Beer makes a motorcycle go. We'll explain that in Overachievers. A bride wants a refund for her wedding pictures. We'll explain why in Klopp's Klips. And one student helps another get a passing grade on a test, not by cheating. Details and good news, that and more ahead.
And now, a woman's perspective.
Why do so few men end up in heaven? They never stop to ask directions.
This has been a woman's perspective.
Ted, as always, we have some good news to bring to everyone. A history teacher in Whitesburg, Kentucky, shared an interesting picture on Facebook. Winston Lee's picture shows a test from one of his 11th grade exams on World War II. The picture shows a note at the bottom of the test from the student to the teacher, which reads, "If you could, can you give me my bonus points to whoever scores the lowest?" The student who gave away his points received a grade of 94%. The 5 points would have increased his score to 99%. Instead, they were given to a classmate, lifting her to a passing grade. Wow, that's really, really nice. How about that?
Yeah, that's
take my
cool.
bonus points and give it to somebody else.
That's really good. And the recipient has no idea who it was.
No.
It's up to the person who gave the points to share that information if he chooses.
I must let you know that I never, and I repeat, never would have the opportunity to give anybody bonus points from any of my grades.
I never would either, but I had a sign permanently affixed behind my chair that said, "We'll accept bonus points at any time." So.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Ted, we have some great news in Whitesburg, Kentucky.
Misspeak of the week now, Ken. You'll never guess who the Misspeak is.
I have a good idea, but I want to be surprised.
Okay. Well, you're going to be disappointed if you want to be surprised because it's Joe Biden.
No.
He spoke at an event marking Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is the month of May. Here is part of what he said.
But your time did come, as it has for the entire community. A diverse community, cultures that are reflected in every part of American life, including in government. By the way, a government led by Kamala Harris.
Oh my gosh.
Who's in charge here?
Poor man. Jeez.
Okay. Well, that's I don't know.
Man.
Hey, that's the misspeak of the week.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Cleveland sports history time. We bring in Dusty Sloan. Dusty, I want to talk about a time with the Cleveland Indians, not the Cleveland Guardians at the time, but the Cleveland Indians, from a game that none of us watched, from May 20th, 1948. The Indians tie an AL record, get ready for this, 18 walks in one game as they beat the Boston Red Sox 13-4. What exciting stuff can you tell us about this contest, Dusty?
Well, you're going back to a time where my parents weren't even born at that point, so we're going on in the way back machine here. But yes, that game where the Indians won, they had 18 walks was a record, and only had 8 hits. It was a much different time when you were a batter back then. Everybody now is swinging for the fences. They're not worried about their batting average or their on-base percentage at all. Well, these guys, when you talk about guys like Lou Boudreau, Joe Gordon, Ken Keltner, Jim Hegan, and the pitcher was Bob Lemon, and he hit back then. Every one of the players in the Indians order that day had at least 1 walk. 8 of the 9 batters had at least 2 walks. So they were able to get on base, obviously generate some runs, and unfortunately for the Red Sox, they couldn't stop walking us.
In back then, there were a lot more walks. I don't think this record is ever going to be broken because of the changes in the game.
No, absolutely not. And it was a different game back then, even than what it was 1, 2, 3 years ago, because I'm looking at the box score, and the starting pitcher for the Red Sox was a guy named Mickey Harris, and he walked 7 in the first 1 1/3 innings. So then they bring in another Mickey McDermott, and he finished the game with 6 2/3 innings, and he walked 11 and faced 32 batters. So that would never happen either.
That's really interesting, because you got to remember at that time, the mound was much higher, right? Because they lowered the mound after, I think it was like the 60s or 70s or something like that. And so I can only imagine that the strike zone, which I think everyone kind of feels as though is much expanded now compared to what it was probably pretty tight. So that's probably part of 2 of the reasons for that. Who are some of the other players that played for the Red Sox at that time, if you have any idea? I mean, you mentioned the pitcher. Were there any notable players that were playing for the Red Sox?
Oh, there certainly was some guy by the name of Ted Williams in left field.
Wow.
But he only went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs that day. He couldn't overcome the 18 walks by his pitchers, but also had Dom DiMaggio in center field and Bobby Durr at second base. So and Bertie Tevis with the catcher. So they had players, but unfortunately that day they didn't have enough pitchers.
Well, Dusty, great information. It's nice to go back and look at some of these older games with some of these different stats as we look back to 1948 when the Cleveland Indians tied an AL record of 18 walks as they beat the Red Sox 13-4. Dusty, as always, appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Ted, it's time for some overachievers. And I believe we have 2 of them, which obviously makes it special. The first one, Bobby, was born on May 11th, 1992. Bobby is a Portugal canine. Bobby the dog is 31 years old. That is unbelievable. He is now the oldest living dog in the world and the oldest dog ever according to the Guinness Book of World Records. He is a purebred Rafael del Eterno, a breed of livestock guardian dog, has lived for double his life expectancy of 12 to 14 years. My gosh. We do have a senior dog at our house who's 12, and obviously we enjoy the time with her, and at some point in time she won't be around, but 31 years, that's crazy. Impressive. That's crazy. I want to know what kind of dog food that dog is having and what's going on there. So, Ted, you got any more good news for us?
What kind of dog food they're feeding?
What kind of dog food? I mean, what are you feeding that thing?
HGH-DOG.
My gosh.
I do have another one. A Minnesota inventor whose previous inventions include a rocket-powered toilet and a jet-powered coffee pot has unveiled his latest creation. You ready for this? It's a beer-powered motorcycle.
Oh, my.
It's got a 14-gallon keg with a heating coil. The heating coil heats the beer to 300 degrees, which becomes superheated steam.
Okay.
And that goes in the nozzles, and that moves the bike forward. And the bike can go very fast, and yeah.
It sounds like an amazing thing. I
just don't touch it.
I would have a hard time. I don't want to use beer to power myself around. I want to drink it.
Well,
can I drink it while I'm driving? I mean, that's illegal.
No, that's against the rules.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You can, well, I guess you could, I guess technically that's an open container, and you can have that while you're.
Yeah. I'm just envisioning, like you've seen those beer cans on top of someone's head. Like, I'm just envisioning like this straw that goes from the, I guess you would call it the beer tank, to your face. So,
oh, well, I think we
there you go.
All right. Well, see, we have even more ideas for these inventors. This is
yes,
great.
Yes, we do.
All right. Well, there's a couple overachievers.
Ted, we're out and about Northeast Ohio, enjoying restaurants, bars, golf courses, and stadium venues. We're going to throw that in the mix. So I have actually attended, I try to keep this to myself, I've attended 3 Guardians games this year. One with Aowen, one on my own, actually 2 on my own. So the first one we went to was a Friday night. It was great, perfect weather. We actually saw a loss. And then a couple days later, we actually decided, and I think this is a pretty good idea. We might have talked about this at one point in time. The Guardians came up with this idea of a $50 ticket that you pay per month for a standing room ticket. So Awen and I decided that we're going to jump on this. So I went to the first game. The second game I went on my own. There was a decent amount of people on the Friday night game. I went on a Tuesday, and the games on early in the year start earlier. So they're like at 6:10, with the hope is that they can get people from downtown who are working, just stay a little bit longer and go to the games and buy some beer or whatever. So I go to the game, and the nice thing about where I live, I'm 15 minutes door to door, basically to the stadium. So I usually park a little bit farther out, walk so I can get some exercise, whatever. I got to the game at 5:45.
Okay.
Grabbed something to drink, got my nachos. Of course, you have to get nachos at the game. I mean, oh my gosh, my doctor would be so proud of me if I didn't have a lot of cheese and jalapeno, everything else on there with a bunch of chips. Just what I need right now. I stood in an area, probably in right field, overhang. I was basically almost there by myself. The game started at 6:10, and I sent you the picture of this. Ted, if there were 1,000 people at that stadium at that time, I would be absolutely floored. It was unbelievable. I mean, hats off to the Guardians. I mean, they're trying. They finally scored some runs and all that. But my gosh, I don't. There's just they don't get people during the week, unfortunately. So we have that. I actually took in, and I think you know this place, the Aviator, which is the old Bomber Squad.
Yeah.
Right by the airport. We actually went there for basically a cocktail and some food. It was very good, by the way. They have a really nice outdoor patio with fireplaces and stuff. So we went to that. Joe's Deli, one of your fan favorites, to take out there. I went there on a Wednesday, Ted. I had nowhere to park on a Wednesday.
Wow.
At 6. It was unbelievable. That place is always super busy. Food is so good, and they turn everything around very quickly. Went to Casa and Vic's with my uncle after a Huff and Puff game. So a very good place in Parma. They have breakfast all day.
A Huff and Puff game?
Yeah, it's for the for the older players. My uncle's 85 years old. God love him. And he's playing softball. It's one of my favorite things to watch, I must say. So check it out at James Day Park.
Yeah.
Great stuff on Pleasant Valley. And then it's golf season.
Of
Said
course
it's golf
it is.
season. We've been back. We're just hitting the same course because we're hoping at some point in time we figure it out. We've been to Bobo Link and Avon. And our normal activity in the evenings on Sundays, we go to Bobo Link, we play 9 holes, and then we go to Dover Gardens to finish off the evening.
That's
some Sunday fun day, which is always Sunday fun day over there. So
that is the cherry on the Sunday.
that's it. That's my out and about. I give the baton to you, sir.
Well, we went to Don Ramon's for a birthday / day before Mother's Day celebration.
Which location?
Beechwood or Mayfield, I think.
Yes.
Mayfield. Yeah.
Yes.
And first observation I had was after being there for about 15 minutes. So we were there with my in-laws, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and their kids. So 4 adults, 5 kids. So we had all the adults at one end of the table and all the kids at the other.
Yeah.
After about 10 or 15 minutes, I looked at my wife and I said, now I remember why we don't eat in public.
Oh boy.
But it was good. The food was good. The beer was good. What did I have? A lobster enchilada.
Look at you. Nice.
Yeah. Going out.
Nice.
All out. Yeah.
I love it.
Very good. So went to that. I don't think we've done too much else. We got baseball. Lacrosse is just coming to an end.
Oh yeah.
Soccer will be wrapping up. Actually, soccer's got a couple more weeks. Golf. Youngest one's doing golf. And amazingly, this you appreciate this. So last year for beginner golf, we had all 3 of them in it. And the older 2 made it quite clear, quite early, they did not care for golf. And
Fair
we were
enough.
like, okay, but you signed up and we're going to do it. You're going to finish.
Yep.
So they finished. We did not sign them out. And so I asked the instructor at one point, I was like, how are they doing? Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, they're awful distracted and, they're brothers. So this year there's just the little one, youngest one. And she comes up to me, same instructor. She says, I have to tell you what a pleasure it is to have him in the class. He's a totally different kid without his brothers around. Really? No kidding. You don't say.
To say that. That's
wow. How about that? Get the breaking news side.
Oh my gosh. That's
siren
really
out there, huh? So there you go.
Ted, thank you for being out and about Northeast Ohio. And ladies and gentlemen, get out and about if you can and support your businesses.
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Klips.
All right, Ken, we begin west of the Mississippi. Colorado State Patrol says a sewer truck spilled poop into the eastbound lanes of I-76.
Oh, jeez.
One man told a local TV station he was behind the truck when, quote, some kind of dung sprayed from the top of the trailer. The guy says his car still smells. Another car's driver's dashboard camera shows both lanes of the highway covered in brown sludge.
Oh,
it's not a hazmat situation, but the highway was closed for almost 24 hours for the cleanup.
Oh, gosh. Wow. Well, here's the bonus. Being in Colorado, to get over that, you can light it up.
Yeah, sure
Get
can.
yourself some marijuana and, forget about that whole situation for 24 hours.
A wedding photographer in South Africa shared a text conversation he had with a former client. The client texted him regarding her wedding photos from 2019. In the text, she said, quote, You did a wonderful job on them, but they went to waste as we are now divorced. I will need a refund of the amount we paid you because we don't need them anymore. The photog asked if it was a joke. She said no. So he explained that no refund would be coming because photography services are non-refundable.
I mean, you might as well ask.
Hey, yeah, I guess so.
Throw it out there and see what happens. You know what the answer is, but you got to try.
Yep.
She tried.
He tried. I'm guessing she's pretty trying. A Kansas driver was pulled over on I-35 after showing signs of driving under the influence of alcohol. Deputies got the driver out of his car for some field sobriety tests and discovered that the driver was wearing a costume of a can of Bud Light. The guy was not publicly identified, but he was arrested for DUI.
That's not a good setup.
King Charles III coronated. You might not have heard this part of coronation news, though. Somebody mowed a giant male member into the lawn of Royal Crescent, where a major party was planned as part of the coronation. The big banana measured about 30 feet.
My God. Oh, man.
Police in Germany say a 51-year-old man was left tied up in a wooded area and after an adult game went wrong. The guy was found dressed but tied up with ropes on a deer hunting platform. He had pantyhose over his head, and apparently he was tied up after he was left there by a woman he'd met online. After tying the man up, the woman got a phone call and left quickly without untying the guy. He did have a box cutter on him for those types of situations, but apparently underestimated the woman's bondage skills because he couldn't reach the knife.
That is not the first date you're looking for.
No.
Not good.
Sports. A Lakers fan in Illinois wanted to show his support for his team, so he had the face of LeBron James shaved into the back of his head. His barber took about 2 hours for the trim. Miguel Rosas has done other artistic haircuts previously, including one of Colonel Sanders logo. This one he has titled La Haircut.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's well done.
La Haircut.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, there you go. That's all the news you probably missed, but now you're caught up. I'm Ted Klopp. That's news to me.
Oh no, not a dad joke.
Ken, where do pirates get their hooks?
Where?
Secondhand stores.
That joke was horrible.
Ken, we're coming to the end of episode number 114. Cruising right along here. Do anything special for Mother's Day other than celebrate Mom?
No, we went over to my parents' house, spent some time with them, had some outstanding Romeo's Pizza, which was amazing. And then just for Mother's Day, as I mentioned, from the out and about, we played golf. That's what you do on Mother's Day. If you want to play golf anywhere and not have to deal with anybody, play on Mother's Day. No one's out there.
There you go.
How about you?
No, just went to dinner and celebrated. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Standard celebration.
Love it.
Well, I saw something on the calendar here that I wanted to draw your attention to. Make sure you put it on your calendar. It's not in Cleveland. But maybe we can talk to Jen Brasnovich the next time we have her on, see if this is something we want to look into. The Philly Naked Bike Ride.
Oh.
It'll be back in August.
Okay.
The idea is to promote fuel conservation and a positive body image. Been held before in Philadelphia. They've ridden past Independence Hall, the U.S. Mint, the Liberty Bell, Philly Art Museum. Usually draws about 3,000 bikers and used to be held in September. But it got moved to August because sometimes it's a little cold, particularly for those
Yeah.
Those little bits that aren't normally exposed to the cold weather. So
Well, I'm in perfect shape for that. I'm
are
ready.
you? Okay.
Yeah, I've been working really hard for this.
Will
So-
Eowyn join you?
Oh God, no.
No.
So you might have to join me. So
Well, the
Two men in
attendance
Philly.
will drop quickly, I assure you.
bicycling naked. That would be
Yes.
outstanding. Well, last thing I have, Ted, I'm not sure if you heard it or not. The state of Ohio has come up with another motto.
Oh, another motto. Just what
Nothing
we need.
new. We went back to what we did back in 1984. We're the heart of it all. Not
The
sure
heart
if
of
you
it
knew that or
all.
not. The heart of it all.
Heart of it all.
Previous slogans were "Find it here." I like
Yep.
that. Find it here in
Find it here.
Ohio, and so much to discover.
So much to discover. That's more recent. Yes.
Yeah, that was from basically in 2000.
Yes.
So yeah, the heart of it all. We're back to it. And you know who came up with that? Dick Celeste.
Yeah.
That was his work. So
Yep.
classic times.
Ah,
Well, special thanks to Dusty Sloan, as well as our listeners, and Ted, of course, you for working so hard on this podcast. We look forward to talking to everybody in 2 weeks. We'll probably have more fun stories and more out and about.
God, I hope so.
Until that time, don't forget, we're just two middle-aged men in Cleveland.
Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Westminster AV, custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.